What is happening out there, rotoscouts baseball fans? Or maybe just me. It's 9:30 in the morning. Not sure if anybody's aware we're even going live right now. A weird little pop-up show here for a 12:35 7-game slate this afternoon. We'll talk it through. We'll see who shows up. We'll see what questions we get. Looks like a couple people are in the chat. Good to see everybody here. Appreciate you. Hope your morning is going well. Hope you're getting caffeinated. I'm still fueling the brain. Just poured a nice steaming hot cuppa and took a big sip because a little scratchy voice, a little tickle in my throat. Woke up to a text message from my buddy Torred, who I went out to Cleveland with over the weekend. And he said, I was feeling great Monday, Tuesday, and then all of a sudden I feel like this is the start of like the Cleveland zombie flu or something because I'm not feeling well. And like, I don't really get sick, but in so much as I don't get sick, like I have a little tickle in my throat. I got a little bit of the sniffles going on. I think our friend JP's kids got us sick. One of them was complaining that his ear hurt while we were out there. So that's probably what it is. That's going to be a pain in the ass. I haven't been sick in years, literally years. You guys get sick out there? You get colds? From my experience, mostly the people I know who get colds are the people with kids. Little germ farms bring them home from school. Most of the single people I know don't get that sick that much. But anyway, that's what we're dealing with. We're still off camera another day or so. So we came back from Cleveland a little bit worse for wear. But we'll get there. It's an interesting little slate here to talk about. Obviously, I'm vamping a little bit as we're waiting for a couple people to trickle in. There we go. We got a few more. A little bit of a quorum here for the morning. Good morning to everybody. The website is rotoscouts.com. You can access all the baseball projections, all the basketball projections, NHL projections for every main slate, all in under $1 a day for all three sports. NFL, when that comes back, is included in that same package. Anything that hits the site is included. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button as we get started. Check out our guys over at acemind.io for all your sim and optimization needs. Let's talk slate. Didn't hit the cough button, sorry. Cubbies and the Pirates, 7.5 run total because Paul Skeens is on the mound. Cubbies checked down to a 3.48 implied. That good lineup, we would pretty much expect Skeens to do his thing and hold them down. It's obviously not the easiest, safest spot to get through, but we just saw Carmen Mlodzinski do a pretty good job against that team, at least over the handful of innings that I was paying attention to that game. Decent night last night. I only threw in 10 lineups into the small contest on FanDuel. I ended up in 6th place with one of them. Oddly, it was a unstacked lineup. I think I had two. It might have been a 2-2 and then a bunch of random guys. I'm dabbling. I've been experimenting in small shares with different constructions. Muganax says could be a lot of weather issues today. Yeah, that's a good call, actually. Let me pull that up as we get into this. Day games, you do get a lot of spots that just wreak havoc, especially with a game in Tampa. That could be a problem. Let's see. So starting off with this one, looks pretty clean. Wind blowing in should help the pitching. There is rain in the area, but Roth seems to like it till after the game. St. Louis, Cincinnati, once again, pretty threatened. That one looks risky as far as a postponement. Minnesota, Cleveland looks pretty risky. He's saying there's 2 batches of storms for the Minnesota-Cleveland game where the first one probably misses and the game plays, and then the late ones might cause trouble. But if that first one hits, obviously that could get ugly. And then the White Sox game is a little bit dicey, but seems like he's much more optimistic about that one. And the wind is blowing out at 15 miles an hour there. Yeah, I'd say the 2 really concerning ones are the game at Cincinnati and the game at Cleveland, per what Mr. Roth thinks. As usual, I defer to the actual weathermen on the reporting and the calls, and then it's just a matter, as we discussed DFS-wise, about how risk averse are you? How willing are you to take a shot at, hey, the field's running away from that one, and there's reason to believe maybe it does play, and then we get good opportunity at low ownership. So I tend to lean that direction. It can burn you from time to time. That game gets PPT and you're obviously taking some zeros. But if it plays and it plays in full and then it goes off, you're out on your own with just a few other people on that island. So anyway, top of the board, that game in Pittsburgh. As I was saying, I like Paul Skeens to really do his thing and hold down that Cubs team. It's Colin Ray on the mound for the Cubs. I feel like we haven't talked about Colin Ray all season. He's made 3 starts, pitched in relief in 3 appearances, but I think this is his first appearance on a main slate that I can remember. So I took O'Neal Cruz as the home run pick of the day from the other side. Like the Pirates upside, 4.13 implied total for them. Not the highest on the board. Maybe they sneak through a little bit under-owned across the full lineup, but it looked like O'Neal Cruz individually is going to be pretty popular. I couldn't get away from, with the guys I wanted to take for today's home run pick, I couldn't really get away from popularity. It's just, that kind of slate. The Cards at the Reds. So assuming this one plays, you can see it's a very healthy total at 9 runs, tied for the highest on the board. Both teams in the mid-4s. It would be an appealing spot. It's Matthew Liberatore against Andrew Abbott, a pair of lefties here with some hard-hitting bats on the Red side, with some at least interesting bats down lineup and for cheap, maybe some cheap one-offs on the Cards end. I like Lucan Baker if he's in the lineup for a little bit of power upside. So there are things to like in that one for sure. There is talent on the mound with both of those pitchers. You can get by with both of those guys, but I wouldn't say either one is safe, not in this ballpark, not in these conditions, and just not with their talent levels. The Royals at the Rays. So let's see what that one actually looks like today as well, because it's a moderate day in Tampa. Be like 85 during the game, going up through the afternoon into the high 80s. Still not really kicking it in the ass as far as that hitting environment goes, but we're going to get those 95-degree days down there soon enough. Still looks like a good hitting environment, though, with a 4.51 implied total on the Tampa side. They're going up against Seth Lugo, who can pitch clean innings. We know that about Lugo. 8 against Houston in his most recent start. 3-hitter, shut him out over the 3 hits. 8 strikeouts and a walk. He's typically lower strikeout, but he does pitch deep into games and can keep teams off the board. So it's interesting to see the Rays pop up at that high a total. And then it's Shane Baz on the mound for the Rays. Checking the pretty interesting Royals lineup down to just 3.61 implied runs, but Baz has been very good, has some strikeout stuff. It's going to be a challenge for him as far as keeping that the Royals hit tools off the board and finding his strikeouts against that lineup, but he's more than talented enough to consider today. We got our Vinny Pasquantino home run yesterday, by the way. We also got our Kyle Schwarber home run from the home run call. Back to back and belly to belly for the home run pick. When it comes back in a hurry. Minnesota with Simeon Woods Richardson on the mound. The Twins are at a 4.49 implied total. They're going up against Ben Lively. The Guardians are under him at a 4.63 implied total. We like offense on both sides of that game. That game, again, also threatened by rain. Assuming it plays, the number 2 option for the home run pick of the day was Byron Buxton. I was going back and forth between O'Neal Cruz and Byron Buxton. Again, they're both very, very popular, but just combining the premium contact that those guys have been delivering so far and just have in their bag any day, and the premium contact that the pitchers they're facing typically allow, they were irresistible picks. So I love the upside for Buxton. I like a lot about the Twins lineup. The Guardians are going to look basically like they typically do. There are definitely pieces and parts and a couple of superstar, an excellent hit tool opportunity, and maybe some sleeper opportunities around guys like Nolan Jones. We'll see what that ownership is going to look like. We'll see what his home run number is. But I think I'm kind of interested in the Guardians lineup as well. A very, very good Mets lineup going up against Zach Gallen. Gallen's very hit and miss. He's had a couple decent starts this year. He hasn't really, he had a 6-run game and a 5-run game. I was going to say he hasn't really imploded, but that 6 runs, that's enough. That counts. He has a 13 strikeout game over 6 2/3. 3-hitter, no runs. 1 other quality start, and then a couple short outings. He's given up runs in each. Handful of strikeouts. Hasn't been peak Gallen. Probably not going to find it here against the Mets. I do like their offense, but I do think you can use Zach Gallen. And then Kodai Senga's on the mound for the Mets. Medium strikeout pitcher, I think is fair to say, with upside for a big day. If that, was it the ghost forkball? Whatever that pitch is called. If that pitch particularly is working in its nasty form, then he could spike a big strikeout day. So far, his season high is 8 in his season debut over 5 innings against Miami. Every other start, he's got 3 games with 4, and his last game he struck out 5 Nationals over 6 innings. But he's good. He's good at keeping teams off the board. He's given up 4 earned runs in 5 starts, which is pretty silly. The Diamondbacks lineup, though, high quality. So it's not an entirely safe spot, but he is very talented. 3.61 implied total for the Diamondbacks says a lot. 4.5 on the other side. The Brewers and the White Sox. Brewers, one of the top teams of the day. 4.89 implied total. I believe they are number 2 on the board on the stacks rankings. I think the Mets are 1. Brewers going up against Sean Burke. They've got Chad Patrick on the mound to face the White Sox. I think we're mostly considering Brewers bats. Maybe some shares of cheap Chad Patrick considering the matchup. I don't think we want any Sean Burke in our life. 3.73 implied total for the White Sox bats. There's just not much to work with. Maybe some one-offs of Lou Bob, Andrew Vaughn, like we always talk about. And then rounding things off, we've got Jeffrey Springs. We've got Tyler Mahle, the Athletics, popping for a little bit of power, popping for a little bit of projection against Tyler Mahle. He's been pretty good over his, 6 starts. He's only given up 4 earned runs in his 6 starts. One of those was only an inning and 2/3, but that was one where he gave up one of the earned runs. But he's been effective and kind of surprisingly effective. He looks like the good version of himself from a few years ago. I'm skeptical whether that's going to last. I like the power upside from the A's. I like some of those young lefty bats. So I think we're looking maybe at some A's, hoping we get them through with a little bit lighter ownership than they ought to have. And then on the other side, the Rangers, 4.75 implied total for them going up against Jeffrey Springs. Springs had that good early start, and then he's given up mid-type runs in each of his other starts. 3 runs here, 4 runs there, 5 runs there with 3 or 4 strikeouts in every game. So we got that one good one, and then it kind of faded pretty quickly. He has gone 6. I do think he's worth at least talking about when we get there. But it's not a good matchup, and Vegas is very firmly on the side of that Rangers lineup. Well, did not sort. So you can see one of these things, not like the others. Kenny Woodhouse, what's going on, buddy? Good to see you. Welcome, welcome. Good morning. Hope you got your coffee. Hope you got your bagel or your muffin. You guys breakfast guys, what do you guys usually do? Like, if you commute or like you just wake up and your commute is like from your bed to your office in your house? Like, I'm just coffee most mornings. If I have to run to the bodega, I might grab like one of those like, wrapped like banana nut muffins or something like that. Like when I was working in the city, it's a different story. I always like to, at least, it was a good way to take a morning break, run across the street, get like a bagel with some cream cheese, get like a bacon, egg, and cheese sandwich. You guys go more like pastry or more like hardcore breakfast, or just power through and on coffee only? So top of the board, Paul Skeens. Can I interest you in some Paul Skeens? He hasn't been peak Paul Skeens, but he's been fantastic. There's not one thing to quibble with. He is the option of the day. If you can afford him, take him. You definitely want him more than you want Shane Baz for similar pricing. Ken Woodhouse is all about the fried eggs and toast. I like it. Love a good fried egg. Gordon Ramsay does a good thing about like the perfect fried egg with like a little bit of oil in the pan before you do the butter so that the butter doesn't burn, and you go like extra butter, and then you baste kind of like it's a steak. Comes out so good. Kodai Senga, number 2 on the board. I do like the upside. Like I was saying, he's good enough to find some Ks, get through that Diamondbacks lineup. And if that pitch is really working, you could spike an upside day. Not a safe spot, but really among our more desirable pitchers, none of them really are. The best matchup of the day is for Chad Patrick. That's not all that appealing. Colin Ray's drawing the Pirates. That's not all that appealing. A little bit difficult down there. So with any of the top guys, you're going with obviously the talent level of a Paul Skeens and not worrying about the Cubs. Same thing kind of applies for Senga, but maybe to lesser extents. So I understand if you want to dance around that one more and maybe chase the upside for Ks that Shane Baz gives you a little bit more, obviously. but that's a challenging matchup for him, both for, again, the base hit opportunities from Kansas City, the power that lurks in the Kansas City lineup in that ballpark with several very talented lefties, and they're generally low strikeout rates. So he's going to be challenged to find his Ks just as much. Zach Gallen's the total wild card. If you get good Zach showing up one for an afternoon, he could bend this slate because he's 81.75 and honestly does not project far off the mark from any of those guys above him. Several points above the guys below him. I think he makes a ton of sense to use. He makes things work on FanDuel. He definitely makes things work on DraftKings. He's honestly good enough and projects well enough, even against a good Mets lineup, to be used as an SP1. If you wanted to go Zach Gallen, Jeffrey Springs, I wouldn't call you crazy. 75, 71 for your two SPs on DraftKings. I don't think that's nuts. And that kind of mitigates the need to drop all the way down to the Ben Lively, Simeon Woods, Richardson, Colin Rays, and Sean Burks of the world. You could still do it, but those guys then become, to me at least, more, all right, if I'm using those guys, it's so that I can get Paul Skeens. You could execute the same concept, of course, and say, all right, I'm going to use Zach Gallen and, let's say Ben Lively, just to make the point, for 13.5 total, and then you're buying premium bats. But I think there's enough discount in like a Gallen and Springs or even Gallen and Liberator that you could probably get there. Tyler Mahle, I don't love. 8,500. I think the projection is right around where it ought to be. I think he could easily succeed against that Oakland lineup, but with several options I like a lot better above him, and with a lot of threat that I can see in the model and coming from Oakland and all that power upside, I'm not sure I chase that one all that much. Seth Lugo is, I think, more interesting just for the depth of innings. If he's going right, even if he's not finding a ton of strikeouts against Tampa Bay, where there are some strikeouts in that lineup, he could just give us another 8-inning performance and just pitch clean or relatively clean through it and just kind of accrue fantasy points. And that's got its value at those prices, 87, 82. He's also in that conversation of that's a cheap SP1. If you went Gallen Lugo, I think that's perfectly fine. Same thing with like Lugo Springs. So a lot of mid-board value on DraftKings today on the pitching on the mound. Liberator, we're just majorly threatened for him and Abbott by the rain. 9,000, 9,300. You can see the pricing kind of reflects some talent there. 77, 87. DraftKings doing you a little bit of a favor on the pricing on both. Little discount on Abbott, more of a discount on Liberator, I'd say. Not a safe environment for either guy. Both talented enough to get through those lineups. We'll talk it through. Patrick, just a matchups thing. I don't love it at 8,000 against on the DraftKings slate. 78 is more workable on FanDuel, but he's easily in play on either side as well. Lively, not that great against Minnesota. Talked about the power that Buxton and several other guys were showing. Woods Richardson, similar story against Cleveland. Ray, not a fan, and Burke, not a fan. So far, we only had the Pirates lineup. Cards is in now as well. I'll grab that. Still no Cubs. If you're out there, hit the like button. Subscribe to the channel. We're like 920 something subscriptions. If we could find like 80 people to just come through, I don't care if we recruit people off the street in whatever town you live in to just, hey man, just would you sign into your YouTube account and just click this button? And they never watch the show. I don't really care. Let's just get that subscription over 1,000. It'll be very helpful. So hit that if you get a chance. Check out rotoscouts.com as well. Subscriptions under $1 a day for all the sports. Paul Skeens. It's his day. 10-4, 9-7. You just pay it. 2.39 ERA with a 2.43 xFIP underneath it. Pretty damn close. Just is who he is. Like I said, we're not seeing him at his best, and look how good all those numbers are. Everything here is spectacular. And this is not him at his best. 27.5% strikeout rate. Last year, that was 33-1 over 133 innings, 23 starts. 12.9% swinging. Last year, that was 13-1, 27.5% CSW, 29-4 last year. It just doesn't matter. Stuff Plus has actually gone up. He was only at 101.53 via Stuff Plus last year, which is I find hilarious. Up to 110 so far this year. I question why this is. I'm sure his Location Plus number is absurd. Yeah, 109, 110. So, I mean, 27.5% strikeouts against a 2.8% walk rate, doesn't allow power, keeps the ball down, doesn't allow barrels, impossible to square up. Even against a very good sequencing Cubs team that has power in the lineup, that has guys who get on base at absurd clips. As stated, it's not a safe space, but this is the best guy to attack any lineup with. You just take it. He's going to be popular. It doesn't matter. Get different with your bats. On the Cubs side, Colin Ray, 6,300, 7,300. So he's made 3 starts that were completely off the radar as far as I was concerned. I was honestly not even aware he was on the Cubs. But he's made 3 starts, 5 innings his last time out, 4 2/3 the one before that, 3 2/3 as he got stretched out the one before that. Actually struck out 7, only walked 2. That was against the Phillies on the 25th last week. No earned runs. Very solid start. 4 2/3, struck out 5, walked 0, 1 run, but it was unearned, 5 hits. He's been good, but we've got more sample that says he's not. 27 starts last year, 167 2/3, 18.9% strikeout rate, a 4.29 ERA with a 4.42 xFIP, just an 84 by Stuff Plus, 4.06% home run rate, 90 miles an hour of exit velo allowed, tons of barrels, tons of hard hits, fly ball pitcher. You know what to do. If you go back the year before, 124 2/3 innings, a 4+% home run rate, pushing 4.5, 90, 40. These are the indicators that we chase. This is a pitcher we've targeted for home run upside over the last couple of years. I don't really care about a couple of good innings at the start of the season. I care that O'Neill Cruz is sitting here at a 12.89 in the home run model, 9.94 on Brian Reynolds, 7.85 on Andrew McCutchen. Alexander Canadio down lineup at 10.5, by the way, potentially a little bit sneaky. Like the upside for the Pirates bats today. Definitely not interested in Colin Ray. I shouldn't say that. Given that this is the Pirates, I do think at 6,300 you could throw some darts with Colin Ray. I just have very low expectations that anything we've seen over these 18 2/3 innings is actually real, given what we've seen from the pitcher over time. He has made good starts here and there throughout that run. He's not completely awful. I mean, again, this is not a good ERA, but you're at least a major league pitcher. It's not like I'm talking about somebody who pitches to a 6 earned run average, and a 5.5 xFIP, and a 5+ home run rate. But this is not a good pitcher. If we're drawing bats from the Cubs, they're going to be low owned. You can get some good hitters at low ownership because Paul Skeens is on the mound. That would be the one thing. You're drawing some bats that would be definitely targeting a pretty broad swath of the field on either side if you did that. As we've talked about a bunch of times, I do like when we can get contrarian with good teams and teams that we would typically try and chase. But the corollary to that is always that I do want that to happen not against the best pitcher on the slate and the best pitcher in baseball. So it's not really in my mind the day to do that outside of just taking some wild contrarian shots. So if you're building 150, maybe a few. If you're building 20, I'm not sure. I'm in the 20 max on FanDuel today. I'm not sure if I build a Cubs stack. If I got some like one-off Kyle Tucker and Haps, a Suzuki from the top of the lineup, any of those guys, I wouldn't go rush to take them out. If I had 20 shares of Kyle Tucker come through, I'd sure go check it. But it would have to be really, really specific. Up top, 4,300, 3,200 for Ian Happ remains a good price. 359 xWOBA. His career runs 8% better than average. Scuffled a little bit to start the season, but he's already normalizing across most of his numbers, and everything's going to be fine. The power should come around, and he'll hit around 20+ home runs. He'll steal some bases, and he'll create a ton of runs. That's what he does. He's a great correlated scoring piece with some individual upside. You connect him to Kyle Tucker, Suzuki, and Bush, and you're off and running with 4 guys in your stack on either site. DraftKings, you pick one more guy from the next few, and they've got some quality down there. But Kyle Tucker in the heart of that stack, 63, 45, a true superstar, 7 home runs, 8 steals, 386 on base, a 428 xWOBA, 155 WRC+, tons of barrels and hard hits. Easy click if you're going to this team, but very expensive with Paul Skeens on the mound. No discount for the fact that Skeens is on the mound. Suzuki 53-36, another excellent hitter, 287, 355, 574. Great hit tool, great on base skills, drives the ball like crazy, hitting the ball harder this year than he was last year or the year before. 7 home runs on the board already, looking spectacular so far. Just not a great day to be rostering Cubs. Michael Busch, 5,000, 3,000. Had a great start to his years, moderately cool, but the numbers still look really good. 364 xWOBA tells us it's real 150 WRC plus on the season. He's hit 5 home runs. The power's always been expected from that lefty bat. We'll see what the consistency looks like, but the kid's got talent. Definitely belongs in your stacks. Nico Horner, hit tool and speed type. Pete Crow Armstrong off to a great start to his season. We talked about it yesterday. Really come around in a hurry like we were hoping for. He's up to 3,600 on FanDuel. DraftKings has not caught up. Pete Crow Armstrong still 46 over there. That is a discount, not because Skeens is on the mound, just because they haven't caught the surge. But 275, 315, 525, 6 homers, 12 steals, 132 WRC plus. One of the best defenders in center field in baseball. He has been terrific. Dansby 42, 3,000. Just ignore the slash line and hope that it gets corrected. We're not getting our consistency from Dansby, but what we are getting is well-struck baseballs. 9.3% barrels, 48.8% hard hits. He's hit 5 homers already this year. I'll take it. From a player that I know can be much more consistent than this, all I need is the any given slate upside that he provides, and he's just gotten cheap. He's still a good filler at shortstop. Again, just a bad day to be playing Cubs. Miguel Amaya, Vidal Brujan down the bottom of the lineup, mix and match pieces. Brujan gives you a little bit of hit tool. Amaya's been delivering as a cheap under-owned catcher. 2 home runs on the board. Moderate production so far, over 65, but not sure we're getting much more of that. The lineup we actually want to be talking about. Larry! Nice work, bud. Larry says, thanks for yesterday. Tower finished 5th in the big mini max on DK. I was in first at 10 p.m., woke up to 5th, 10x, so I'll take it. I love it, buddy. Sounds like we had similar nights. I was in 6th on the big smaller buy-in tournament on FanDuel. I just threw in 10 entries because I was in a major rush at the end of the day. But nice. Yeah, it was that kind of a reward for me in 6. So just keep plugging away, putting them up in competitive spots like that, and we get over the top. That's all we need. O'Neill Cruz, top of the board on the Pirates, 2nd or 3rd on the board overall on the home run picks, which are heating back up. Looking to go 3 straight. I like my chances. Number 2 overall. See, like I said, Bucks. I was deciding between the top 2, but they are both chalky. Know that both of those guys are going to be owned. That's the general look, though, at your top home run board. Only a handful of guys above the magic number, but a lot of guys right around it. Plenty of power available today. But love the upside for O'Neill Cruz. 23.5% barrels, 63.2% hard hits, 8 home runs, 12 stolen bases, 419 xWOBA, telling us that there's even more to come potentially. The dude is just ridiculously good. We talked about the fact that this was going to be his monster breakout season on opening day. He is one of those guys in that pocket of hitters that has a swing just like Shohei Ohtani and Jordan Alvarez and Julio Rodriguez. He's one of those guys. So is, of course, Joe Adele, Christopher Morel, and Matt Chapman, that we talked about a lot. But love the swing, the power, the fact that he's already produced so much and has more to give. 58-36, he's honestly not expensive enough. He should be priced like Kyle Tucker. Brian Reynolds, 4,000, 2,800, not expensive enough. 3 home runs, 2 steals. The slash line is kind of ugly so far, but the xWOBA tells us everything's going to be all right. The barrels, 10.7% barrels and 46.4% hard hits are technically both up year over year. He's just struck out a little bit. 30.1 up from his usual 22.5 last year, 21.6 the year before. The walks are slightly down because of that. Everything's going to be fine. Brian Reynolds is too good for this to continue, and he's facing Colin Ray today. Love the upside, 9.94 on the home run model. Andrew McCutchen at 42.28 is also delivering like crazy in terms of the premium contact. 15.2% barrels, 48.5% hard hits. He's slashing 277, 368, 458. The results have even been there from McCutchen so far. 3 homers, creating runs 29% better than average. McCutchen's always been excellent. He's just been aging up slowly over time. But as long as you can get him while he's producing, absolutely fire away. And he is still cheap on both sites. Look how easy it is to afford the top 3 on the Pirates. That 3-man is $4,600 a piece, and it includes those 3 players. On FanDuel, it's $3,000 a piece, essentially. Call it 31 because we got to round up. And Manuel Valdez is not a bad addition to that group. 3,200, 2,400. The thing that sucks is he's a first baseman on DraftKings. You'd much rather be able to stick him at second base or in the outfield like you can on FanDuel. I'd put him at second and use these guys in the outfield, him at short, and then you grab another outfielder, keep that outfield spot flexible for a big outfield bat. But there's flex here. If you need him in the outfield, that's also perfectly fine. He hits the ball hard. 9.3% barrels, 44.4% hard hits this year, exactly in line with what he's done over previous seasons. Strikeouts so far in a small sample of 76 plate appearances are down significantly from the 20s. I would expect that he's going to go back up, but he's drawn more walks, struck out a little bit less, putting the same high-quality bat on ball, and the price hasn't moved. 2 home runs on the board, a 379 xWOBA, 197 ISO, getting on base at a decent clip, creating runs 8% better than average. Let other people worry about the 227, the lack of general production. This is a decent option for 32-24, much better over here on FanDuel. Ke'Bryan Hayes, good bat on ball skills, good hard hit rates, and just never comes through. He doesn't strike out. He doesn't draw a ton of walks, so we're always getting contact, but it just doesn't turn into much. That's always been the problem with this hitter. He's a Gold Glove third baseman. If they could get anything out of the bat, he'd be a superstar. But it just never really arrived in the bat. But against this pitcher, on a day where we're drawing options from this team, he's just a cheap way to fill third base, and he could absolutely correlate with the guys above him. If those guys are on base, he could absolutely drive those guys in with a double. He is capable of hitting home runs. He just doesn't hit a lot of them, but doubles galore. So I definitely think you can include some Ke'Bryan Hayes. Alex Canario at 22 on both sites has a 10.51 in the home run model. Over 30 plate appearances, he's got 1 on the board. Last year, he hit 1 in 28 plate appearances and had a much better slash line. If you're into small sample slash lines, look over here, not over here. So far this year, in 2 more plate appearances, .074, 167, 185. He's got a -1 WRC plus. In 28 last year, he was a 280, 357, 440. I could have sold you that guy. Created runs 28% better than average. He'll hit a homer, stole a base. Just ignore, that part and this part and that part. Focus on the 419 xWOBA in the tiny sample. That tells us that he's been hitting the ball very squarely, and he's going to be all right. Another small sample in which he was good. So 2 out of 3. We get the upside. He's got a reasonable enough bat to throw at this pitcher and hope for a little bit of pop. 18 minor league home runs last year in 283 plate appearances. That was all in AAA. 243, 336, 514, had a 271 ISO. And again, 18 homers in 283 plate appearances. Struck out 30% of the time, but walked 11.3%. Kind of one of those 3 true outcomes type bats, but very, very cheap for the upside against a pitcher who gives up home runs. Adam Frazier mix and match piece at 3,000, more positional flex at 24, but there are better options above. He's got a home run. He's got 3 stolen bases. He can produce in minor ways for fantasy. He's more of a mixer. Same thing with Jared Triolo and honestly Henry Davis. Any one of those guys at the bottom can absolutely be in your lineups. Henry Davis has some power upside. He's very cheap. That's a great cheap way to fill catcher on DraftKings. People probably won't go there that much because of where he's hitting in the lineup and because he's at 130, 167, 261. Early in the season, over 24 plate appearances. He's got a lot of prospect pedigree, and he can deliver some upside with that bat. But the real value is in those top 3 being so cheap, and then whatever bolt-on parts, just average that further down. But like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. O'Neal Cruz, Brian Reynolds, Andrew McCutchen, and Manuel Valdez, and Alexander Canario. And you're at 3,880. Call it 3,900 a man for that 5-man. And now I can probably add the pitcher at 97. And now I can run and grab 2 superstars from another team and a one-off superstar and another good pitcher. That's a great option. And it's the same on FanDuel. You just got to make the decision on FanDuel between what a Sophie's choice we have on FanDuel between Manuel Valdez and Alex Canario. Meanwhile, the Cubs lineup came in. It looks like the exact lineup we talked about, except down toward the bottom. Nicky Lopez hitting 9th. He's an entirely skippable mix and match type guy. And Nico's hitting 5th, PCA 6, Miguel Amaya 7, Dansby Swanson 8. So who was it that was Vidal Brujan out of the lineup? Handful of others have come in. We've got the Reds here. We do not have the Reds yet, though. All right, so to reiterate, this game, extremely threatened by rain. But if you get it, you've got some interesting pieces to work with. For one, Andrew Abbott in his 3 starts is carrying a 32.8% strikeout rate. That mostly comes from the 11 strikeout game he had in the middle against the Orioles when we were definitely targeting him. He pitched pretty well that day. 6 innings, just 1 earned run on 2 hits, struck out 11 Orioles. Still can't get over that one. He allowed just a solo home run. 4 innings in his most recent start. That was at Colorado. You can kind of forgive him for the 4 earned runs there. That came on 5 hits. He struck out 4, but what we don't really want to forgive him for is the 5 walks in that game. Kind of ugly there. First game of the season, he went 5. He allowed 1 earned on 2 hits, struck out 5, walked 2. He's more the pitcher that we saw on the bumper games than the guy who was in the middle. But he has induced an 11.2% swinging strike rate over those 15 innings. That's up from 9.2 last year in 138 innings the year before, 10.9 over 109 innings. That year he was finding strikeouts. Last year, not so much. So we'll see. The truth is probably somewhere in the mid-20 kind of range. 25%, I think, is fair to say. It's probably not 32%. The walk rate's going to be high. He's a mid-level lefty, let's say. 91 rating by Stuff Plus last year. Give up a 4+% home run rate, which is concerning. A lot of barrels on an extreme fly ball trajectory. 3.49% home run rate the year before that, despite pitching to a 3.87 ERA. He had a 4.56 xFIP. You can see nearly a 5 xFIP last year. It's a very gettable starter, but he can also break off decent outings for Ks. And it's not the greatest opponent on the other side. I do think this is a targetable Cards lineup from time to time, but this ballpark's not going to help. The rain is definitely not going to help. If it's a stop and start, you could lose him even if he's going well. So I really don't like anything on the mound in this one. But at 87.93, it's also not a great price, honestly. They'll probably be very, very unpopular. So if you just wanted to take a shot at some leverage in terms of rostering unpopular pitchers, this is probably your spot. Liberator, a lot of the same things are true. He's also pitched decently, 3.19 ERA, 2.71 xFIP, a 23.1% strikeout against a spectacular 1.7% walk rate over 31 innings. That's 5 starts so far. Hasn't allowed much in terms of home runs. He's kept the launch angle down respectably well. Has missed some barrels, but given up a ton of hard hit, ton of exit velo. So those mistakes are going to pop back up. Last year he was at a 3% home run rate. That's believable. 4.40 ERA with a 4.17 xFIP. He's a perfectly serviceable, like 5th starter type, but he's not a real, truly upside guy. Last time out went 6, earned run on 5 hits, struck out 4. Start before that, 6 2/3, 2 earned runs on 6 hits, struck out 6. What he has given us is definite depth. He's gone at least 6 in each start. He's pitched in the 7th inning twice. So you do have a reasonable opportunity there. But again, if rain cuts into that, if they get an hour-long delay in the middle of that, he's probably not coming back out. So it's a big dice roll. Big dice roll on the mound, and you can see what the run totals are. 4.46 on one side, 4.66 on the other. So Vegas doesn't think these guys are going to get it done. If we're looking at Cards bats, they're definitely on the board. When we talk about the risk-averse nature of targeting these games because they'll be low-owned, or the non-risk-averse, you know what I mean. Taking the risk of targeting these games because they're low-owned and saying, all right, we're going to try and fade the rain and play these guys. Typically, we want to focus on the bats in that scenario because they'll be more likely to come back into the game after a delay. There's more general upside there. And I think there's some interesting bats on the cards against this pitcher. Lars Nootbaar from the top against the lefty. He's serviceable here. 263, 400, 439. He's been putting up numbers. He's got power. He's got speed. If we chase Abbott earlier, if we get the delay and restart, plenty of opportunity for Nootbaar. 47.32 is not ideal, but it's also not expensive. Mason Wynn at 32.25 is very affordable, especially considering his numbers from last year. He's had a rough start to the season, but he's at 260, 345, 425. He's created a run 17% better than average. Just hasn't really been driving the ball that much. 3 home runs on the board, a 286 xWOBA underneath that decent on base at 345. Last year, he hit 15 homers, stole 11 bases, 267, 314, 416 slug. Just a 148 ISO, creator, runs 3% better than average. Very effective player for a very cheap price. Just not an ideal way to fill shortstop. Brendan Donovan is a mix and match level talent who can hit the ball hard from time to time. Typically hovers in the upper 30s to 40% in terms of hard hit rate. Typically going to be in this 5% range. He's up a little bit in terms of hard hits, up a little bit in barrels so far. That's kind of what we were expecting going into last year. He had a disappointing season, but he's always going to be good for putting quality bat on ball. He puts up good plate appearances. He doesn't strike out much at all. He's a moderate walk rate guy. So we're getting a lot of frequency of contact. And when the contact is of good quality, you can absolutely go there. Just still needs some support from his friends. He needs guys on base. He needs somebody in scoring position to be an effective run creator. He needs somebody to knock him in to be an effective run creator. 42, 30,000 for Nolan Arenado. Look where we are now. 243, 336, 411, 3 homers, a 312 xWOBA, a 106 WRC plus, a 5.1% barrel, 29.6% hard hit rate. Who was the first one to tell you that swing was completely broken? Probably wasn't actually me, but I was on that bandwagon early. Nolan Arenado is done, and he ain't coming back. Wilson Contreras, 35.28. That said, if you're going to cards, you can obviously play him. Wilson Contreras, 35.28. 3 home runs on the board. As we've discussed numerous times, not as valuable at first base as he was at catcher, but you can still include him. A 317 xWOBA hovering around the average, some support for the upside still in the premium contact numbers for him, 9.5% barrels, 40.5% hard hits in the small sample. We're at least not crazy far off those numbers, but he's been scuffling to start the season. It hasn't been pretty at 222, 300, 342, and 82 WRC plus so far. This is the guy I'm kind of interested in. Luken Baker, 10.51 in the home run model, 2,500 at first base. Would take him for 1,000 less over Wilson Contreras today. If I'm building a bunch of card stacks, I obviously have them both and I alternate back and forth. But if I'm building one, I'll take the discount for the upside and power. Kid's got pop. Hasn't hit a home run in his 36 plate appearances. He's striking out at a 27.8% clip. Last year he was at 22.4 in a moderate sample, 49 plate appearances over which he hit 2 home runs, but was sub Mendoza. Year before, 99 plate appearances, just 2 home runs, hovering around the Mendoza line. Hasn't been a pretty hitter. But in that same last year, in the minors, now granted, he's a 27-year-old, and we've talked about this before. His true nature is he's a quad A Crash Davis type, but he's got real power. 32 home runs in 452 AAA plate appearances last year. Slash 231, 345, 535 along the way, but had a 303 ISO. Struck out 24.3, but walked 14.8. He's a very much 3 true outcomes hitter. He's more Bobby Dahlbeck than he is Kyle Schwarber. But anytime he's in the lineup, and particularly when he's in the lineup in a bandbox against the lefty who can give up some home run upside, he's an interesting bat for that cheap. 33 home runs in 380 AAA plate appearances in 23, 21 in 513 AAA plate appearances in 22, 26 in 398 minor league plate appearances in 2021. Dude can rip the ball. If he was a true major leaguer, you'd know his name by now. He'd be in the lineup every day. He's not. But today, 10.51. I came close to making him the home run pick of the day, but I wanted to keep the streak going. Jordan Walker, 3,000, 2,700. Not off to a great start. 210, 269, 290, 60 WRC plus. I still have loose faith that, given the hard hit rate at 44.9%, if we could get some better frequency of bat on ball, but I'm starting to feel like I'm stretching to find justifications for keeping him in the lineup. It's been ugly. We've seen ugly stretches from him before, but we've also seen him do okay, but kind of underwhelmed what he was supposed to be. Kind of disappointed. Yoel Pozo at 2,400, 2,500 has apparently made 29 plate appearances. He's got a home run on the board. He's got a 355 xWOBA. I suppose if you need a very cheap catcher at 2,400 and you're fishing at the bottom of the cards lineup in a very rain-threatened game, then Pozo's your guy. This is literally the first time I've ever said his name. And then Jose Barrero at the bottom of the lineup has not made a plate appearance yet this season, doesn't look like, and is at the dead min at shortstop. And I don't think we're dealing with much of a bat there. Is he down? Yeah, 101 plate appearances in AAA this season. He's got an odd little 4 home runs on the board. 4 homers, 5 steals in AAA already this year. We've seen him in the show in moderate samples over the last couple of seasons. I just was looking at what he was doing right now. In 23, in AAA, he hit 19 homers, stole 20 bases. Mid-grade production, but struck out at a 31% clip with a 6.6% walk rate, which is unsustainable, and that was in AAA. If you go back to 2 years ago, 149 plate appearances in the show, 218, 295, 323, 2 homers, 3 steals, 65 WRC plus. Even worse the year before in 174 plate appearances. Not much of an option, but the fact that he does have that history in AAA of a little bit of power, a little bit of speed, and he's the dead min price. Again, in this ballpark against a gettable starter, if you're going to the Cards, that's honestly possibly a better way to fill shortstop than Mason Wynn, just given that extreme discount that you get. Wynn's in a much better lineup spot, but he'll be the guy that people go to. Nobody's putting Barrero in the lineup. Kind of interesting. Not off the board down here. On the red side, probably got the lineup while I've been winding my way through this. Nope. 10:20 a.m. Plenty of time till 12:35 before this slate starts. We'll get through it, I promise. TJ Friedel. It's so much easier when I'm not on the camera to keep the other tab off and miss chat. Jake Luke is here. He says, so much rain everywhere today. Yeah, not a pretty day. Hopefully we just fade it. We get through these and play these games and don't have any delays or anything. What's up, buddy? Georgia just came smashing his way into the room. Good boy. Why don't you go lay down? Good boy. Go on. TJ Friedel in the top spot. We're at 275, 333, 367. He's got a decent enough skill set for fantasy. He can hit one over the wall. He can steal you a base, set the table for McLean and Ellie De La Cruz. He's a reasonable correlated scoring piece. 4,300, 2,900 is about the right price. 5 in your home run model. He's not bad. He doesn't barrel a ton of balls. He doesn't give you much to talk about in terms of contact, but he also doesn't strike out. Quality bat on ball guy. Reasonable option in the leadoff role if that's where he hits today against the lefty. Matt McLean is very interesting against this pitcher. 15.7% barrels and 47% hard hits. Comes up with a 6.73 in the home run model. It's kind of scuffling over his 94 plate appearances in terms of the slash line at 159, 266, 317. But the xWOBA gives us a lot of encouragement. So do the contact marks. He missed all of last year. So we're just kind of reclaiming the timing in terms of the slash line. Striking out at a 33% rate. That was at 28.5 2 years ago. Walks are up from that number. I think everything's going to be just fine, even if he's just a power bat and a stolen base guy. If you can push that on base up a little bit via the walks, maybe cut a few strikeouts, going to be perfectly fine. Today at 3,200 with second base eligibility on FanDuel, 4,800 at second base on DraftKings. Love the option. Ellie is a superstar. 5 home runs, 13 steals, 281, 348, 438, a 347 xWOBA. Creating runs 10% better than average. You just include him if you go to the Reds, but again, highly threatened day for this lineup in terms of the weather. Noelvio Marte at 4,000, 3,300 at third base. Very playable piece. Currently at 315, 373, 593. Great xWOBA mark. 3 home runs, 4 steals. Not too much to talk about in terms of the premium contact. So that's something to watch. What happens with these numbers? Do they go back to like that level? Do they linger around here where he was last year? The strikeout rate so far cut in half from where he was last year. Walks are back up. It's only 59 plate appearances. Not much to get excited about just yet in the true sense, but very playable at 4,000, 3,300. Don't love this price. Definitely like that price. Spencer Steer against the lefty at 3,600, 2,600 across sites with positional flexibility over here. Sucks that you've got second base taken care of already because you don't want McLean at short because Ellie's there. So really you're looking at Steer as an outfielder. I don't love him at first base. I think he's loosely playable there, much more functional in the outfield. On DraftKings, at least he's very cheap at first base for 36. so that's playable enough. He's got 20-20 upside, home runs and steals, counting stats galore. You get good contact out of him. Not the best option, but definitely a playable piece in stacks. As a one-off type, probably more a FanDuel one-off where you can just throw him in as just another outfielder, but not a priority in that sense. Santiago Espinal, Gavin Lux, Jose Trevino, and Blake Dunn, just kind of mix and match guys going down the board. We've got some good production in terms of bat on ball over here. A couple of decent 353 xWOBA on Gavin Lux so far. Tells us that maybe the production is real and actually finally arrived. This is a guy we've been waiting on for kind of a long time. Creating runs 37% better than average so far. He's got a homer and a steal on the board. Hitting the ball fairly hard. He'd probably be my priority down lineup, even with a lefty on the hill. 3,800, 2,700. Another guy with second base eligibility. So is Santiago Espinal. Between the two, I'm a much bigger believer in Gavin Lux than Espinal. And same thing applies for Trevino. He is not this hitter. We've seen Jose Trevino enough. He is a fantastic defender behind the plate, and he'll occasionally turn on one and give you a good day at the plate. But he's not a priority bat as a catcher. 5.2% barrels and 41.4% hard hits, pretty much in line with expectations. The hard hits are up a little bit. Last year, over 234 plate appearances, 215, 288, 354, 8 oddball home runs with an 83 WRC plus, a 139 ISO. That's who Jose Trevino is. And then Blake Dunn, mix and match option down lineup. This is pretty much bats. Again, I do think if you get sunshine all of a sudden, either one of these guys would be playable on the mound, but they're lower priority from the middle of the board. I think the pricing is too high on Abbott. Liberator on DraftKings is more reasonable and is in that conversation for discount pitchers. But I would go Reds bats above Cards bats. Only a few interesting pieces for the Cards, but Luke Maker's one of them. Just now we got the Reds lineup. I think it's exactly what we have there. Espinal hitting 5th. That's dumb. I mean, it's fine, but I don't know. I don't love that option. I would have just stuck with Steer. But yeah, that's the same group of hitters overall, so nothing really changes there. Royals and the Rays. Shane Baz, 31.6% strikeout rate, 2.45 ERA with a 3.21 xFIP, keeping guys off base. He is allowing the premium contact, the barrels, the hard hits, and the exit velo that we were expecting him to. So far, it hasn't burnt him. Continually pitching in this ballpark, it's going to get him at some point. He's given up a couple homers, but it hasn't been bad. 3 on the season. All 3 came in this ballpark. He's only made 1 start on the road. That came in San Diego. He went 7 innings. That was his most recent start. Allowed 4 hits to that excellent Padres offense. Struck out 6. Was very, very good. His most recent start against the Yanks, he gave up 1 home run. He did allow 5 earned runs over on 4 hits, faced just 18 Yankees, struck out 3 and walked 4. That was his most problematic start of the season. Really his only bad one. Start before that, he faced the Red Sox in this ballpark, struck out 11, allowed an earned run, 2 hits. The earned run came on a solo shot. 7 innings with a solo shot allowed, 2 earned runs, 6 strikeouts, and 4 walks in the start before that, and then a 10 strikeout game against the Pirates, his first start of the year. Still a little padding from those 10 Ks in that number and the 11K game, but the other 2, he's got 2 6 strikeout games. Probably ends the year in the upper 20s if things continue. 107 marked by Stuff Plus. But what's going to be interesting to watch is how this power ends up, whether or not it ends up burning him. The Royals, more than good enough to put bat on ball against, exploit some of this premium contact that's available, more than good enough to avoid his strikeout stuff, not get tempted, put quality bat on ball. We saw Vinny deliver his 4th home run of the year last year. Hopefully some signs of life. As we said yesterday, we're just keeping the faith. We know that Vinny's there. We know the real Vinny Pasquantino's in there somewhere, banging on the door like an angry Sasquatch trying to get out. I think it's going to happen. Today could be day number 2. At 3,000, 2,700, against a pitcher who gives up contact like Baz does, with a hitter who does not strike out when things are going right. 12.8% last year, 11.9% the year before, and throughout his life. 19.4% this year. It's up, but it's still sub 20. And so are all of those guys. This is not a good matchup for Shane Baz. If these guys can take away what he does well, and look, there's an old adage in baseball that good pitching beats good hitting for a reason. This is a young, good pitcher who has some obvious warts. He's going to have to do a lot of hard work to strike these hitters out. Several of these guys can exploit the walk. Some of them not as much. So I'm not as worried on the walk side of things. But these guys might just keep putting balls in play. Vinny's a big part of why I'm interested at 3,000 to 2,700. That price is simply too low. You can see the 8.43 in the home run model in this ballpark on an 85, 86 degree day, taking pokes at the porch and right. I love that upside. I also like that upside for Michael Massey at 6.61 in today's home run model. For just 25, 24, that's a reasonably good spot filler at second base. I know he's been bad this year. He's not even putting good bat on ball. In the past, we've gotten at least average bat on ball, low strikeout rate, low walk rate, so a high frequency of slightly, I was going to say slightly above average, but I can't even get away with that. Average bat on ball. He can drive the ball from the left side, though. He hit 14 home runs in 356 plate appearances last year, had a 190 ISO, 15 home runs in 461 the year before with a 152 ISO, and just 4 in 194 plate appearances the year before that. We've got ample proof that on the right day, we could get a shot to right field from this hitter. For those low prices in a lineup that people are probably not going to go to a ton, that's an interesting bat to me. Kevin Biggio, some of that applies in terms of you can see the odd ball, travel a little bit, but he's much more a singles doubles hitter. And right now we're just getting nothing. And throughout most of the last few years, we've just gotten nothing. Sub Mendoza over 224 last year, 235, 340, 370 the year before that. He did hit 9 homers and stole 5 bases in 338 plate appearances, was technically a positive run creator at a 103 WRC+. That's a very flawed lefty down lineup. Kyle Isbell is not an overly appealing bat, and I'm just going through the lefties you'll probably noted. As we go back toward the top, Jonathan India is in lineups every day when I play the Royals. You just keep going there. He's a good correlated scoring piece with a very low strikeout rate, draws a ton of walks, gets himself to first base. He can set the table for Bobby Witt, Vinny, Sal, etc., and he has reasonably good individual upside. At third base, not ideal on DraftKings. I'd probably just stick him in one of the outfield spots at 3,200. On FanDuel, he's going at second base. That said, you do have the Massey option there. You've also got Michael Garcia who could slide into second base. Kevin Biggio is not really a problem. He's also got 4 position eligibility. But when I'm divvying up that second base share, I do want him there, but I'm willing to go outfield if I happen to be building a stack that would include both India and Massey. But it's less of a problem because on FanDuel, I typically want these 3 so that I'm only getting one of those guys anyway. So I can just kind of alternate my way through those shares at second base. You don't want to only be alternating who your second baseman is and have those 3 guys in 150 Royal stacks. You obviously want to mix and match some other options in there. But that does make it, it does mitigate that second base issue a little bit. Bobby Witt's a superstar, 57.36. He's a little bit lower priced than some of the other upside options at short on this slate, and that's kind of unfair. He was the runner-up for MVP last year, and he's putting up similar numbers so far, 322, 388, 475, a 372 xWOBA. He's creating runs 39% better than average. Looks every bit Bobby Witt to me, except the barrels have been slightly down. Hard hits have been slightly down. It's where some of the home runs have probably gone. I feel like everything's going to be fine. It's only 134 plate appearances. 11.31 is a number to chase in the home run model today. Sal at 9.28 in today's home run model has only hit 2 this season. He's at a 398 xWOBA, but carrying a 15.2% barrel, 47.8% hard hits. I promise the power is going to come back, and today could be a good day to find it. Massey we talked about, but Michael Garcia at 3,900 is discounted on DraftKings. 2,700 is discounted on FanDuel. Garcia is just quietly doing his thing. 282, 342, 417 slash line so far. 349 xWOBA. He's created runs 14% better than average. He's not striking out. His walks are up. Strikeouts are down slightly. Walks are up slightly. Most importantly, and I called it out on opening day, hard hits are up 53.5%. Barrels are up a little bit by a percentage point. That's encouraging. This is very encouraging. We're getting very high quality bat on ball with good frequency of bat on ball. He's coming through for BABIP, which is an important part of what he does at the plate, obviously. We'd like to see him return to stealing more bases. 4 on the season, but very, very adept base stealer. So good way to pad stats, a guy who can contribute with the bat, and I do expect some more home runs to arrive eventually. Drew Waters down in the 8th spot, switch hitter, 24-24 across sites, 281, 328, 456 start to his year, creating runs 19% better than average. Over 337 plate appearances 2 years ago, he at least stole 16 bases, but he was 18 points below average creating runs, /228, 300, 377. Not a great option. On the Rays side, they're going to be facing Seth Lugo. Lugo at 82-87. Definitely a talented veteran pitcher who can eat some innings here. He's never a big strikeout option. Even in a very good year last year, we were only at 21.7. It was more about the strikeout to walk ratio. He pitched to a 3.0 ERA, had a 3.83 xFIP, just a 9.5% swinging strike rate, which is really good at keeping guys off base. Didn't allow much in terms of power. The premium contact is only moderate. Year before that, 23.2% strikeouts, a little bit more meat on the bone there. 3.57 ERA with a 3.76 xFIP. And you can see the innings total from last year, 206 in 33 starts. So far this year, we're on that kind of pace. 38 innings in 6 starts. As mentioned last time out, he went 8. Faced 27 Astros, struck out 8 of them, walked 1, 3-hitter. 6 2/3 in the start before that, 6 2/3 in the start before that one. Allowed 3 earned runs to Detroit on 5 hits and 4 earned runs to the Yankees on 7 hits. But at least pitched in the 7th inning in both those games. 5 2/3 in a game before that, 6 innings. So we've got a lot of upside toward the quality start bonus on FanDuel. We've got a lot of upside to just chew up some innings here. There are strikeouts in this lineup. I wouldn't rule it out for Lugo to go out there, pitch 7 clean innings, come away with 7-8 strikeouts again. Wouldn't shock me. 82-87, I think he's really priced at a friendly price. The only thing really working against him is a pretty good Rays lineup, a very bad situational environment as far as this ballpark goes. But that's about it. So I feel like he's the most talented among the guys who are a little bit cheap on either side today, especially over here. But with every Lugo share, I'm probably taking a share of Rays bats in another lineup because they're carrying a 4.5 run total, and they're a really interesting team. Chandler Simpson had another 0 for day, disappointing us over the last 2, but I still love that option. Love the hit tool, the blazing speed, 300, 349, 325 over his first 43 plate appearances, still at a 102 WRC+. Needs to just start putting his bat on ball again. Never going to be a power bat, but he's going to be low strikeout. He should draw walks in the show, and he should steal a ton of bases and create some runs up top. We'll see if he's even in the lineup today. Do we have this one? We don't have this one yet. Given the fact that he went 0 for the last 2 days, he is a rookie call-up. I feel like the Rays roster is like 35 guys. They just have endless guys that they can mix and match in. So there is maybe a slight chance that Simpson's not in there. I fully expect him, but we'll see. If he's there, you just play him. 37-29 for Yandy Diaz, 254, 301, 393, slowly creeping back up, hopefully. 101 WRC plus, a 332 xWOBA, 49.5% hard hits. The barrels, the hard hits are exactly where they're supposed to be. Strikeouts are down, but walks are down too. He just had a rough start to the season, but it's still Yandy Diaz, the guy that we've seen over the last couple of years be maybe not a superstar, but a next shelf down. Brendan Lau at 43-27, 7.84 in the home run model today. Big time lefty power against Seth Lugo. Love that option with an 11.7% barrel, 45.5% hard hit. You can see Junior Caminero in the next spot at 11.4 and 53.4, and then Jonathan Aranda in the spot after that, 14.9 and 59.7 barrels and hard hits. And then our guy Christopher Morel, 22.9% barrels, 41.7% hard hits. That's your power stretch. There is no quarter here. If these guys are all hitting 3 through 6, that's a danger zone for Seth Lugo. And with Yandy Diaz's spectacular ability when he's going right to get on base ahead of those guys, that's where you get problematic. But again, Lugo has more than enough to get through those guys. He is not going to fear a second-year player like Junior Caminero. He's probably already struck out Christopher Morel 10 times in their careers. So he's not going to be, this isn't anything that's going to be daunting to Seth Lugo. but it is a high danger spot right there. Those are, I would want, if I'm building raise stacks, 2 of those guys in basically every stack. 4 home runs, 6 home runs, 4 home runs, 3 home runs. Lau, Caminero, Aranda, and Morel going down the order there. The least consistent so far has been Lau, and that's funny because he's the most established talent. Probably the second most talented behind Junior Caminero in the overall sense. He's at just 215, 254, 327, 68 WRC plus so far. But we know the power is ridiculous. The 347 xwOBA tells us everything's going to be fine. Junior Caminero is carrying that same number. He's got a 212 ISO to the 112 ISO that Brandon Lau's put up to illustrate the difference between how you hit the ball and what the results are. And what we care about is how you hit the ball and how frequently you hit the ball. We don't really care about the results right here being different. That's a results-based stat. Cameron Misner, a little bit further down the lineup. By the way, again, 2 of those guys in basically every raise stack. On FanDuel, you could 4-man that, but I do like the idea of including one of those 2 guys as a table setter in there. Misner at 41-27 could jump into that conversation. Over 84 plate appearances. He's been terrific. 166 WRC plus, leads the second in this lineup. 3 home runs and a stolen base. Moderate in terms of the actual premium contact going on, but he's put good bat on ball and he's succeeding with it in terms of results so far. Jose Caballero, mix and match piece with a little bit of power, a lot of speed. I shouldn't say a little bit of power. He's got a home run on the board that was a total oddball. He doesn't have power. A lot of speed, ability to get on base, a little bit of a hit tool. Not showing the hit tool so much so far this year. Ben Rortvedt, not much of a bat at catcher. This goes... man. On a short pitching day, I'm tempted to give Shane Baz the benefit of the doubt. I just like that Royals lineup too much. Shane Baz, up top. Followed by, I guess, Rays bats because that's where Vegas is. But for me, it's a lot closer than what that looks like to grab some Royals bats against Shane Baz here. And Lugo would probably bring up the rear, but this is a 4 corners game. Any one of those 4 things is definitely playable here. And again, despite this being an afternoon game that starts at 1 in Tampa, doesn't look like there's any threat of rain. If they push out to like 4:30 with the playtime, then you might run into that. But that's unlikely. Twins in the guards. Twins lineup is in. No Cleveland lineup. Twins carrying the 4.49 implied total. The Guardians at a 4.63 implied total tells us a lot about the state of pitching in this game. Simeon Woods Richardson carrying a 4.07 ERA with a 4.21 xFIP underneath it. That's about who he is. 24.3% Ks with a 5.6% walk rate. This isn't terrible as like a 5th starter type, but it's not overly desirable numbers in terms of DFS. We saw him pitch to a lower strikeout rate over a larger sample last year. 133 2/3 in 28 starts. It's a lot of short outings in that too. 28 starts, you should have thrown more innings. 8.4% walk rate is a little bit high for that low strikeout rate. 9.6% swinging strikes is right in line with where he's at this year. Not much of a strike thrower with that CSW. Ugly whip each year. Gives up moderate power. So more of a target for me, especially considering the 19.2% barrels he's allowed so far in four starts, 24 1/3 innings. That has oddly not crushed him. Just a 3.74% home run rate. You would think with those numbers. He's given up a home run in 4 straight games, but just one of them. Given this, that might be the highest pitcher barrel rate allowed I've ever seen over more than like one outing. 52.1% hard hits on a 21.2 degree average launch, 91.7 miles an hour of exit velo. If this keeps up, this is going to be like 10% home runs. Obviously, that won't happen because he won't be a major league pitcher anymore. But yeah, that's very problematic. Very tempted now to throw some Guardians bats at that. Jose Ramirez looks pretty spectacular against that. Just ignore the 264, 317, 453. He's got a 336 xWOB. He's created runs 13% better than average, 5 homers, 6 steals. Very much doing Jose Ramirez things. He's only 54-36, one of the cheap superstars on the board today. Stephen Kwan at 47-32, a spectacular table setter with a little bit of power showing over the last couple of years. Not in terms of premium contact, but he's got such back control that apparently he can just decide, this time up, I'm going to hit a home run. He's got 4 of them on the board already this year. Had a little breakout for power with 14 last year over 540 plate appearances. Year before only had 5. Year before that only had 6. But has always been a spectacular bat on ball, put ball in play, reach first base, batting average type. 144 WRC plus so far. The fact that he can drive the ball a little bit too, love the option from the top of the lineup. Nolan Jones is very interesting. 5.46 in your home run model. I don't care about the 171, 284, 286, guys. I don't. This is a player who was a disaster last year. Over 297 plate appearances. He slashed 227, 321, 320. The results were terrible. 3 home runs, 5 steals. Year before that, 424 plate appearances with Colorado. He went 20-20. 297, 389, 542 with a 245 ISO, 135 WRC plus. Is there some Coors Field in there? Sure. But does he have a lot of talent? Yes. Did he hit a home run the other day right after I said much of that to my friend at the Guardians game? Yes, he did. Is he also carrying an 11.1% barrel rate with a 57.8% hard hit rate across his small sample of batted ball events so far this year that aligns nicely with what he did in that year that he went 2020 in those plate appearances with Colorado? Yes, he is. Nolan Jones, big upside option at 3,200, 2,500 against this pitcher with this kind of contact that he's allowing. That's an exciting spot. Get some Nolan Jones in your Guardian stacks. Kyle Manzardo. Saw a thing this morning about Kyle Manzardo that I'll pull up real quick. Per Anthony Castrovince on X, Kyle Manzardo of the Guardians has an 881 OPS despite just a 211 BABIP. Was curious if any qualifier has ever had an OPS that high with a BABIP that low. So obviously we're talking about much different samples. But the top 2 in that sample, sorted by home runs, are Kyle Manzardo with 8 homers and 881 OPS, and a 211 BABIP so far this year. And number 1 was Roger Maris, 61 home runs in 1961, 993 OPS, and a 209 BABIP that year. That's insane. 209 BABIP, but a 993 OPS, 61 homers. Bonkers. So that's the kind of season that Kyle Manzardo's having so far. 223, 15, 538, a 346 XWOB, but you can see that premium contact right there. 16.4% barrels, 43.3% hard hits. A lefty, yet another premium power bat to throw at Simeon Woods Richardson. I'm just going to write Guardians on my hand so I don't forget when I build my lineups. Hold on. I'll just make it a big G. And this pen doesn't work. There we go. I'll just remind myself like that. Sometimes I talk in excited terms about these teams, and then like after the show, my brain just goes and flushes everything out. And I'm like, what the hell did I say? I blacked out. What did I say? What happened? But then I start building lineups, and I'm like, which of those teams was I excited about? Who did I want to get to? That's why I'm marking it down here. This is a really good, interesting spot for the Guards. This game, again, it does have a lot of rain threat in it as well, so maybe we get them under owned for the opportunity too. Carlos Santana, reasonable option, 39.25. He's only carrying a 219, 300, 295 slash line so far, just a 282 xWOBA, 2 home runs, 2 steals. He is a very low strikeout hitter. A lot of high-quality bat on ball over time. I think it's at worst a playable piece in this lineup today. 5.51 in the home run model. He's not running away with projections or anything like that. But if we're talking about a pitcher giving up this kind of bat on ball, that's a player that people will not play as much as he deserves. And he could easily succeed against this pitcher. You do have the positional conflict with Manzardo there. He would be my 5th priority in a 4-man group on FanDuel, but he's very playable in multiple Guardians lineups. Gabriel Arias is also playable, an 11.1% barrel rate so far this season from him, 4 home runs on the board. We've been kind of waiting for this power to arrive, 198 ISO. Bo Naylor's also got 4 home runs. Just ignore either the average and the on base. Focus on the 206 ISO from the catcher. Focus on the 11.1% barrels and the $2,600 price tag. On FanDuel, he's like the 7th most desirable guy in this lineup. He's probably more like 5th on DraftKings. Angel Martinez can put bat on ball. Brian Rocchio's mostly here to play defense. If you're looking at the Twins, they're going up against Ben Lively, who's carrying an 18.3% strikeout rate over his 30 and 2/3 innings. Nearly a 4% home run rate on 10.9% barrels, 46.7% hard hits, and nearly 92 miles an hour of exit velo. I think you guys know what to do with the Twins when they're showing this kind of power upside. Just play them and let them disappoint you, like I always do. Lively has not struck out more than 5 hitters in a game this season. He's gone 6 innings once. Gave up 4 earned runs last time over 5 innings on 6 hits to the Red Sox. Struck out 4, walked 3, 2 home runs allowed. 4 earned runs in... He's given up exactly 4 earned runs in 3 different games this year, while striking out 4 or 5 in each of those games. It's not a high-end pitcher. Last season in 151 was essentially the same guy. 18.7% strikeouts. 7.8% swinging strikes. That year, this number's at 6. This year, that number's at 6.1. 67.1 by Stuff Plus. That's one of the lowest marks I've ever seen in a full sample. So far, he's way up, but still way below average. He's below average by basically the same amount that he's gone up. Not a good pitcher. Throw Twins bats at this guy. 449 implied total. 2 guys over the magic number. One of them was Carlos Correa, who is mired in a slump to start the season, which is disappointing for those of us who have been supporters of him. I'm still a believer. We've looked at this many, many times, but this is what I have to cling to. 156 WRC plus last year, /310, 388, 517 with a 207 ISO and hit 14 home runs in almost exactly half of a season. And then was just hurt, was just out. Never stopped hitting the ball hard, never stopped barreling the ball, even in a bad season 2 years before. This was bad. I'll admit, this is a full season of a bad slash line. Was just 4% below average despite that bad slash line, hit 18 home runs, and still put bat on ball very well. Just got really unlucky throughout a lot of that year. I'm still a believer in Carlos Correa. I believe in that home run number. 35.27 is a terrific price at shortstop for that talent. 4,800 is a great price for Byron Buxton. He's at $3,800 option on FanDuel, which means this should easily be 1,000 more or thereabouts. And FanDuel's probably got it right. Buxton's carrying a 15.5% barrel rate, 52.1% hard hits. He's hit 6 homers. He's stolen 7 bases. 328 xWOBA, but jibes with some of that. 239 ISO definitely is, indicative of the quality of the power so far. 109 WRC plus, a 13.89 again. Top man in the home run model today. It was between these two for the home run pick. I went with O'Neal Cruz, but I love the upside for Buxton to get one too. Trevor Larnach at 9.02 in the home run model. Ty France at 8.68, getting a little credit for his power uptick. 14% barrels and 46.2% hard hits out of Ty France so far this season. Slashing 266, 341, 404 with 3 home runs on the board. It's been pretty good. Trevor Larnach, 4 home runs for him. A 132 ISO is disappointing. 320 xWOBA supports it. We'll get a little bit more. It's around the average. Last year, he barreled the ball 10.1% of the time, 45.1% hard hits. Barrels and hard hits galore the year before that. We're way down in those departments so far this year. He's cut strikeouts and he's gone up in walks, which is encouraging. But we need those barrels and hard hits to come back. This is a good day for him to get that started. Big lefty bat against this pitcher. Edouard Julien in the top spot is a challenge. He's got a lot of talent. He is wildly and frustratingly inconsistent. The 344 xWOBA is a nice indicator of that. He's hit 2 home runs. He's got a 12.1% barrel and a 43.1% hard hit. He also strikes out a ton. 33.9 last year, 31.4 the year before, but he draws his walks. 3 true outcomes type guy. Interesting to have that at second base. The 200, 289, 329 hitter so far this year with a 129 ISO. That flies in the face of the production that should be there, given that. Last year over 301, he was sub Mendoza, 8 home runs, 6 steals, a lot of similarity. Year before that, in 408, he went 263, 381, 459. That's the upside. Hit 16 home runs, 195 ISO, created runs 36% better than average. That's who he's capable of being. You can absolutely get that on any given slate, and against this pitcher in this ballpark today, I like it. Brooks Lee at 31.24, 3 positions on FanDuel, third base only on DraftKings. More appropriate to play him on the FanDuel slate, like at second base probably. But so far this season, barrels are way up, hard hits are way up in a very small sample of batted ball events. But keep it up, Brooks Lee. You were a buzzy prospect at one point. 375 xWOBA says it's kind of real in that small sample. He's playable. I just don't love the option at third base. If I'm game stacking this one, I'm taking that third baseman a lot more times than I'm taking that third baseman. Harrison Bader's a mix and match outfielder, always was. Cody Clemens at the dead min could give you maybe a little good bat on ball. Last year, 7.1% barrels, 42.4% hard hits, 5 home runs in 120 plate appearances, 4 in 148 the year before that. That's basically who Cody Clemens is. Christian Vasquez, kind of a mix and match catcher. Guardians bats, then Twins bats immediately behind them. 2 top priority bats stacks if this game plays. And then really neither pitcher. If I had to choose, I would probably take Simeon Woods Richardson and just assume that this is a little bit of small sample happenstance and hope for the best. But really for me, it's neither pitcher. Damn it. No Nolan Jones. That's disappointing. So Guardians confirmed with Steven Kwan, Gabe Arias hitting second, which is interesting. Jose Ramirez, Manzardo. Big Christmas in the lineup. All right, this is a different enough lineup that I got to put it on the board real quick. Hate when that happens. Will Wilson's got to get back in there. I put him in the travel one over the weekend. I believe he's right-handed. Oop. Yeah, right-handed. There he is. All right, so very different looking lineup from the one I just went through. Arias moving to the 2 spot will give him a bump for power upside. Still, everything I said applies. Interesting upside power bat there, but I was much more excited about Nolan Jones. Still excited about Manzardo, Jose Ramirez, Steven Kwan. I do like Big Christmas in the 5 spot, 2,500, 2,400. There's a ton of power upside in that bat as well. 14.5% barrels, 36.8% hard hits last year. He hit 13 home runs and 198 plate appearances in the show last year. Don't ignore the power upside from that bat against this pitcher. Daniel Schneemann is like a mix and match piece with flexibility in the infield for a cheap price. Will Wilson, a rookie third baseman, 21,200 at shortstop on FanDuel is a little bit odd. Don't know if we have, I don't think there's much of a bat there, but I could be wrong. Let me double check it. Yeah, 5 home runs, 6 stolen bases across 460 in AAA last year. Also went 216, 299, 296. Yikes. Not much of a bat. And then Austin Hedges. We saw Austin Hedges strike somebody out the other day as a position player on the mound. Not much of a bat. That's a diminishment to the Guardians lineup. So much so that I'm going to do this and take them off my board. I'll remember to play some stacks. They'll come up anyway. I'm less excited about that change. I really like Nolan Jones. D-backs and the Mets. Grab these lineups if they're in. They are. We've got them both. By the way, the Twins lineup is the one we talked about. That one was confirmed. Okay. Good pitching in this one. 7,500, 8,100. Zach Allen is super playable. I know he hasn't been good this year. 5.57 ERA, a 4.33 xFIP. This is usually a pitcher that I'm on the other side of this conversation with, saying like, I know Gallen projects out okay, but is a little bit high price for me. I don't really trust him. He's got too many warts. He gives up too much premium contact. He walks too many guys. We've gotten good enough starts over time. We've gotten good enough numbers over time, like last year when he pitched to a 3.65 ERA at a 3.62 xFIP, struck out 25% of hitters, basically kept home runs off the board, 2.09% home runs, despite allowing a fair amount of barrels, 41% hard hits, which is our concern number, 40 is our concern number, 90 he hit our concern number exactly. Did the same thing the year before. 91.5, 46, 9.2% barrels, somehow held that to just 2.6% home runs. Struck out 26% that year, 3.47 ERA with a 3.49 xFIP, 26 to 5.6% strikeout to walk, 210 innings in 34 starts. He was very, very good that year. He could absolutely come out for those prices that you're seeing in front of you at 75 on DraftKings and 81 on FanDuel and breeze through these Mets 3 times. He's got more than enough talent to do that. We've seen that from Zach Gallen over time. And we're not that far off the mark in some of this. I have no trust for him, But you don't need to. You don't really need to at these prices. I think the discount is more than enough reason to consider them. The Mets have a spectacular lineup. They've been winning baseball games. They've been hitting in at least spurts. But Gallen is easily talented enough to get there. I have the Mets as one of the top stacks of the day against him. I will be playing Mets against in other lineups, but I will definitely have some Zach Gallen today. Kodai Senga, pitching well, 1.26 ERA, but a 3.93 xFIP. Tells us that this is a big illusion right now. 96 on the Stuff Plus meter. Last year, that was 109. That's come down. That's small sample. I forgot it was only 5 1/3 in one start last year. Don't have the Stuff Plus number from 2 years back. Let's see what that was. They've gone back in time and added these old Stuff Plus numbers. It was 101. But wait, that number's different. Why would that be different than his number from the leaderboard? One moment. Huh. That's very strange. Fangraphs has a different Stuff Plus number on the leaderboard than they do on his player page for this year. The leaderboard one is the one I have in the file. The one on his player page was a little different. On the player page, it's 99, not 96. Got to figure out why that is. The individual pitch numbers, I think, are the same, though. That's really weird. And they definitely don't average out to 99. I think the 96 is the correct number. Might have to send Fangraphs a little email there. Either way, Senga finds whiffs, 12.2% swinging strike rate so far this year. 2 years ago, that number was 12.5% when he struck out 29.1% of hitters. He does walk a lot of hitters just because of the action on his key pitches. So far this year, that's at 8.1%. 2 years ago, it was 11.1%. We'll see where that comes through. He hasn't been striking out guys at the same clip, despite finding the same whiff, essentially the same whiff rate. But he's been absolutely spectacular, keeping the ball in the yard, missing bats, keeping runs off the board so far. 8,800, 9,600, he can definitely keep it up against a good Diamondbacks lineup. But there are things to point to there that say, like, some of this is not necessarily real, and the D-backs definitely in play coming back the other way. 3.6 implied total for them. It's a playable number on a short slate like this, 7 games on the board. Corbin Carroll gives you a superstar option up top, 61.44 is very expensive, but he's relatively low strikeout, 19% each of the last 2 years. That's up a little bit at 24.1% so far this year, but that's probably just small sample. 426 xWOBA, 163 WRC plus, 9 homers, 5 steals, 17% barrels, 55.3% hard hits. An excellent way to get a Diamondback stack started. You get a low strikeout guy in Geraldo Perdomo in the next spot. It's probably not going to maintain a sub 10% strikeout rate while walking 15% of the time all year, but around 15% like he was last year. I believe in that. Excellent option for getting on base, carrying a 379 on base right now, creating runs 24% better than average via WRC plus. Hits ahead of and sets the table for Pavin Smith, Josh Naylor, Eugenio Suarez with all his power. It's a threatening lineup. No two ways about it. You've got good hit tools here. You've got excellent on base skills across a lot of these guys up top. Very good run creators and a ton of power. Not a safe spot for Kodai Senga. And several of these guys not necessarily going to be up there flailing. Guys like Pavin Smith, Suarez might strike out several times each, but those are also the guys that might deliver the big long ball. 6.69 for Suarez, 5.99 for Pavin Smith, who's just been crushing in his 91 plate appearances so far this year. 19.1% barrels, 342, 473, 630, a 405 xWOBA, 4 home runs on the board. It's been terrific, drawing nearly a 20% walk rate so far. Josh Naylor just doing Josh Naylor things, 11.2% strikeouts, 11.2% walks, 43% hard hits, 4 homers, 4 steals, 318, 392, 500. Just chugging his way through the season. Junior Suarez, 10 homers on the board. Just ignore the slash line. We don't care about that. We're just looking for power. 370 xWOBA, 18.1% barrels, nearly a 60% hard hit rate. Just take him for the 669 in the home run model. Lourdes Gurriel, Alec Thomas, Tim Tawa, Jose Herrera down lineup, all mix and match quality. Alec Thomas, probably your most talented currently. 288, 338, 411, steal some bases. Can hit you the occasional homer, but is more like a doubles hitter with some speed. Gurriel just hasn't been delivering so far this year. Last year it was a little bit diminished, but there's a good hit tool in there. He does have 4 home runs on the board. Disappointing in other aspects so far, but playable still, and the price is down at $34.26. We're taking Mets against Zach Gallen, which we definitely, again, want to be doing. The top 3 are obvious. You have 3 stars or 2 superstars and a star, or like the best hitter in baseball, or second best hitter in baseball, third best maybe, and 2 superstars, however you want to break that down. 308, 372, 500 for Lindor with a 144 WRC plus, 6 homers, 2 steals. 7 home runs on the board for Pete Alonso with a 343, 474, 657, 475 xWOBA. Critty runs 111% better than average. 20.2% barrels and 59.6% hard hits. And the guy who was struggling to define whether he was first, second, or third as the best hitter in baseball is at just 241, 368, 384, but carrying a 353 xWOBA. He's hit 3 home runs, 52.7% hard hits, impossible to strike out, draws his walks. It's Juan Soto. Just go with it. He's only 5,100. The fact that he's in danger of falling out of the 5s on DraftKings is just stupid. There should just be a rule that says Juan Soto, no matter how the results look over 136 plate appearances, should never be allowed to be this cheap. 35 on FanDuel is also too cheap, but it's not as emphatically cheap as the 51 on DraftKings. 55 for Alonso, 43 on FanDuel is very expensive on FanDuel, less so on DraftKings. It's reasonable. I think it's correct on DK. But he's been undeniably great so far this season, and we've seen monster power, if nothing else. And we're going up against a pitcher who's allowing too many barrels, too many home runs so far this season, and has that as a trait. Love the top 3 for the Mets. And then you get cheap immediately. So the salaries just average right back down. Jesse Winker, Mark Vientos, Brendan Nimmo. 3 excellent options. Any one of those 3 guys, or any 2 of those 3 guys, brings your salary right down. Now I'm at 45, call it 4,600 a man. And if these 2 were sitting here at 46, I wouldn't even blink at it. I mean, I would be like, wow, that's weird that they have them priced there for the production they've had so far this year. But I'd have explanations for it because of their seasons in years past, because of the talent level there, because of the contact that they've been making. 34.36 is just too cheap for Jesse Winker and Mark Vientos. 27.29 is just too cheap for Jesse Winker and Mark Vientos. Winker's been bad so far. 87 WRC plus, just 1 homer, 1 steal. But we've seen the upside from the left side of the plate from Jesse Winker. Vientos, we just saw go off for major power last year. 7.4% barrels, 39.5% hard hits. Just needs to get the engine turned over, and then we're going to surge. He's just cheap. Nimmo, still barreling the ball like crazy at a 12% clip, nearly a 60% hard hit rate over 120 plate appearances. He's got 6 home runs on the board, a 336 xWOBA. He's 16% below average for run creation because he's getting on base at a 258 clip. That's a problem. But he's not striking out. He's just not drawing walks, and he's getting unlucky. Brendan Nimmo is another player who could absolutely go on a tear. And if nothing else, we're at least getting our power and our premium contact, and that's all I really care about. 4,000, 3,000, great price. Luis Torrens, Jeff McNeil, and Tyrone Taylor down lineup. Mix and match pieces all. The best option there probably is the BABIP-focused hit tool-oriented Jeff McNeil with a little bit of positional flex. Tyrone Taylor, just you're hunting for an oddball piece of power, and Luis Torrens is more of just a catcher. Mets bats. Zach Gallen. Nah, I can't do that. Mets bats, Kodai Senga, Zach Gallen, Diamondbacks bats. No Brewers, no White Sox in yet. Hit the like button as we power through the show. We've had people in and out. I know there's other stuff going on. Morning meetings at work and so forth. Blackman, good morning. Missed your message there, pal. Good to see you if you're still out there. Appreciate the likes, the subscriptions as mentioned. Let's get those subscriptions up over 1,000. We only need like 70-something people. Let's get that done. Tell your friends. Jump into other Discords and be like, hey, check this guy out. I don't care. We're beyond the point where we're going to be shy about that. Brew Crew going against Schoenberg, pulling a 4.89 implied total up to the top of the board. Look pretty terrific here. Burke at a 6.0 ERA, a 5.31 xFIP, a 16% strikeout rate. Kind of explains itself. 15.4% barrels, 5.6% home runs allowed so far. The exit velo is notably low. That's actually shockingly low. But everything else, he's just giving up a ton of fly balls that just travel far enough out of the stadium. Not a good option. Don't think you go there even at 5,000. On the Brewers side, you definitely want to be grabbing these bats. They're very expensive. No, not very. They're expensive. Bryce Turang, if he's in the lineup, he scratched yesterday, post-lock. That sucked. I didn't see it till it was too late. 49-34, hitting the ball hard this year like we've talked about. He's got 3 home runs on the board. He's always been a good option for stolen bases if he's getting on base. This year, getting on base like crazy and hitting the ball hard makes him a much better option. Creating runs 18% better than average. Just need him to be in the lineup today against Sean Burke. Good lefty bat up top. Jackson Chourio, love the option for a home run. 7.06 in the model, 9.8% barrels with a 46.1% hard hit rate. Barrels are up slightly from the full season last year. Hard hits slightly up in the small sample. Needs to focus on getting on base, drawing those walks like I mentioned yesterday. Everything else is already there. He's a superstar if we push that walk rate. Christian Yelich, 49-37. The average, the on base, the slug, fine, whatever. You can quibble with those. The 351 xWOB is exactly where I want it to be. 5 home runs, 6 steals. The results have been there. 47.4% hard hits. He just looks like Christian Yelich to me with a little bit of an increased strikeout rate in a small sample. I'll take it. 5.26 in the home run model, right around where he usually is. At 49 on DraftKings, he's a little bit cheap. At 37 on FanDuel, he's a little bit pricey. Or correctly priced. William Contreras, still a catcher on DK, 4,500, scuffling to start the year, but sustainably scuffling. Not a lot of power on the board, but he's hit 3 homers, stolen 4 bags, 260, 376, 365, and creating runs 8% better than average. You'll take it. He's not expensive for the quality of catcher, and we expect more from that hitter. Sal Frelick, good hit tool, stolen bases, the occasional pop, but we're really looking for him to set the table and steal some bags, maybe correlate with some Rhys Hoskins late in the lineup, some Jake Bauers late in the lineup. Those 2 hitters were mostly looking for high-quality batted ball events. 9.1 and 45.5 in barrels and hard hits for Hoskins so far. In a small sample of 43 plate appearances and fewer batted ball events, 19% barrels and 47.6% hard hits for Jake Bauers. He's turned that into 2 home runs and a 216 ISO, a 340 xWOBA. Hoskins has 3 homers, a 356 xWOBA, and really interestingly, 282, 404, 412. Rhys Hoskins, potentially resurrected. Last year wasn't pretty. Last year, 517 plate appearances, 214, 303, 419. Did hit 26 homers, had a 205 ISO. Missed all of the season before. Year before that, 246, 332, 462. Created runs 22% better than average, had a 216 ISO, 30 home runs and 672 plate appearances. That was his last year in Philly, I believe. Dude's always been a good power bat, a very good on-base option. I don't expect him to hit in the 280s all season, but I do expect him to get on base, and he's delivering a good start of a Rhys Hoskins season. Something to keep an eye on. Definitely belongs in Brewer stacks today at those prices. 38, 28. That's too cheap just for if this guy fell out of the sky. Let's say this was a guy who was signed out of the KBO, and we had no major league sample ever with him, and he started over 104 plate appearances and just did this. He would be more expensive than this. I don't really understand those prices. Bauers is more just a mix and match. You could get the occasional home run. Ortiz and Durbin, pretty skippable down lineup. 45 okay plate appearances out of Durbin so far, a 113 WRC plus. He's playable. He doesn't strike out, doesn't really draw walks. You're just looking for some bat on ball and put the ball in play and get to first base and set the table again for those guys. Chad Patrick is a challenge. 2.45 ERA, but a 4.54 xFIP is telling us the truth. A 1.32 whip is unsustainably high. That's unsustainably low. So is that. Doesn't result in 21% strikeouts where I'm from. He's already walking too many over his 5 starts, his 25 and 2/3 innings. A lot of hard hits. Not a ton of barrels, but it's a fly ball trajectory at 23.2 degrees, so there are going to be more home runs on the board. Stuff is exactly at average. No sample from last year. There's just really not a lot with this pitcher. It just feeds the upside for the Brewers. 5 1/3 last time out, 3 earned runs, struck out 5, walked 2, allowed a homer. He's allowed at least 1 home run in each of his last 5 starts. 2 of those were 2 home run games. He allowed 6 earned runs in one of those starts and 5 earned runs in one of those starts. 2 3 earned run games and 1 game that was fairly clean at Fenway. 5 innings of 5 hit, 4 run ball, but only 1 earned run, 1 home run, 5 strikeouts, 3 walks. That's about as good as he's ever going to be. I don't think we're going there at 5,000. I don't think we're going there at 7,000. Did I just skip over to Sean Burke when I was talking about Chad Patrick absent-mindedly? I think I did. My bad. It's been a long day, and it's only 11:13. It's also really warm in here right now. I'm meant to be talking about Chad Patrick's recent results in there. 2 strikeouts in his last game. Faced the Cardinals. Allowed 2 earned runs on 4 hits. 6 innings of 2 run ball, 7 hits, 7 strikeouts against the Athletics. That was a good one. 4 1/3 of no runs, just 5 hits, but only 4 1/3, 3 strikeouts. 5 1/3, 4 strikeouts, but 3 walks. I don't know. Not a lot of good there, but this is a really bad lineup. You're just getting the bump for Chad Patrick out of the bad White Sox lineup, 373 implied total. So again, we're not playing this guy. You can play that guy, but it's more about how bad this team is. I do think if you're taking a look at some White Sox, it's not the craziest idea for a contrarian alternate stack. You do it as a small stack. You do it as like a 3-man. Maybe it's a 2-man with Lou Bob and Andrew Vaughn, like I said yesterday. Joshua Palacios in the leadoff at 25-22 is sub Mendoza over 48 plate appearances and has never really been much of a hitter. Last year, 224 over 78. The year before that, 239 over 264 with 10 home runs, 279 on base, and on and on. Andrew Benintendi. All of that basically applies to Benintendi. 5 home runs that came really early in a little spurt. Now he's at 227, 301, 427, a 312 xWOBA, 109 WRC plus. Technically, that's going to come down. Last year, 229, 289, 396. That's who Andrew Benintendi is. He did hit 20 home runs. So you get a little oddball power there. So maybe you take the lefty bat, pair him with Lou Bob in a 3-man. Hope for the best there. It's very cheap to do so. 3,500 apiece. Edgar Quero at 32-24. A little bit of hit tool so far. 306, 432, 361 is at least encouraging. The 395 xWOBA looks fantastic. Yet to barrel a ball, but he's at least hitting the ball hard, putting it in play, not striking out, and being a productive piece in this lineup. One of 2 players in this projected version of the White Sox that are above average for run creation so far. Andrew Vaughn has not been good. Over 118. We're sub Mendoza by a lot. 203 on base, a 30 WRC plus, but he at least puts good bat on ball when he happens to make contact. 15.5% barrels and 51.2% hard hits. Bottom of the lineup, Miguel Vargas, Brooks Baldwin, Lennon Sosa, Jacob Maya. There's just nothing here. There's just not much to work with. Everybody's way below average by run creation. 3 home runs, 2 home runs, mediocre averages, sub 300 on base percentages. There's a reason why this is one of the worst teams in baseball history. They're not trying to win. They want to move this team, which would be a tragedy. Brewers bats dramatically above anything. Chad Patrick shares just because he's facing a terrible team, but he is not good, and I have very low expectations. Then White Sox bats in very small doses, and Sean Burke is really not on the board. A's lineup is in, Rangers lineup is not. Gonna get through this one. We'll get the site updated. You'll have an hour plus for lineup building. Quiet day in chat. I like the idea that people are sitting there at work with like the sound turned off, but the closed caption on and like some kind of screen swapper in case the boss walks by. I can't imagine trying to sit there and read me in closed captions talking about all this shit. Not something I would want to do. Hopefully you guys are doing well out there. Hopefully your mornings are going well. Say hi to your boss for me. The Athletics. That's the second time this season. Second time I teed it up with an Oakland at the front. Athletics facing Tyler Mahle. Mahle's been pitching well. 1.14 ERA, but a 3.98 xFIP underneath it. So we're going to be honest about things. That's who Tyler Mahle is. 21.3% strikeout rate, but a 10.7% walk rate. 10.8% swinging strike rate, but just a 28.3% CSW. Has yet to allow a homer. 6% barrels, missing premium contact so far. Mahle can break off good starts. He missed most of the last 2 seasons. Back in 22, he put up a 25% strikeout rate, a 4.40 ERA, but a 4.03 xFIP. Had an 11% whiff rate. Allowed medium power. Was an extreme fly ball pitcher with a 3.18% home run rate. Medium kind of premium contact numbers. That inflated before he got hurt that year in 23, and then we just haven't seen much while he's been rehabbing. It wouldn't shock me if he came out and had a respectable enough day. I think you could see that in the projections. 8,500 is a fair enough price for him. I would definitely take some Tyler Mahle shares. There is strikeout upside in this Athletics lineup. There's also a major power threat in this Athletics lineup. Lawrence Butler hit his 5th yesterday. He's also stolen 5 bases, looking a lot like the very good Lawrence Butler that we saw last season. 11.4% barrels, 43.2% hard hits, right in line with that production. Strikeouts are down a little bit. Walks are up a little bit so far in the small sample. Only cost 48.32 across sites. Really like that. Jacob Wilson, currently sporting one of the best hit tools in the league. 325, 336, 456. He's going to flirt with 300 all season. He's not a power bat, but he's very low strikeout. High frequency of batted ball events. He's a Luis Arias type. That's giving him a lot of credit, obviously, but that's the rep. And so far, over 117 plate appearances this year, he's looked every bit that part. 5.1% strikeouts, 1.7% walks. We're just talking about balls in play. Tyler Soderstrom, 16.7% barrels, 48.9% hard hits. Brent Rooker, 14.8 and 45.5. 17 combined home runs for those 2 hitters. Rooker at 133 WRC plus, Soderstrom at 158. Those guys are ridiculous. Lefty-righty pairing. First base and outfield eligibility on Soderstrom, so you don't have any positional conflict with the rookie Nick Kurtz further down the lineup. You can put those guys in lineups together on DraftKings. FanDuel, they both play first base technically, so you're using the util spot, but it doesn't really matter. Both very appealing options for power upside. 10.35 and 11.31 for Soderstrom and Rooker in the home run model. 7.84 further down the lineup for Kurtz. You do have some separation from those hitters and from the heart of the lineup with Kurtz hitting 8th. They're trying to get him going, I think, a little bit here and just not put him in a high-pressure spot until that bat actually gets going. But he was surging at the minor league level. Miguel Andujar with his hit tool is interesting. 316, 353, 443. Just focusing on putting the ball in play, getting to first base. He's got 2 home runs on the board. He's not inept when it comes to power, though. 5.8% barrels is up a little bit from last year. Looks more like the guy from 2 years ago. 12.9% strikeouts. Spectacular at avoiding strikeouts. Putting balls in play with the occasional flash of pop. 2,600 in the outfield. 3,700 in the outfield on DraftKings. That's a usable piece. 39.28 for JJ Bleday. He's kind of the reverse of that. Not much of a hit tool, but a little bit more power, ability to sting the ball. 43.2% hard hits so far this season. Just an 88 WRC plus, but you get the lefty bat in there against the mediocre righty. I think there's upside for Bleday on the right afternoon. Luis Urias, 2,800, 2,300, 4 home runs on the board. Just hunting for some of that oddball power, and he can provide that in a big way. 11.7% barrels and 35% hard hits last season in 109 plate appearances. Just 4 home runs came from that, so he's already tied that production. He's also dramatically outpacing the 199, 303, 394 that he put up. Just 3 in 177 2 years ago, but 16 in 472 back in 2022. That's the guy we're hunting for on an any given slate basis for a cheap price, and you're only doing that at second base over here. You're not putting him at third base. Kurtz definitely can fill first base on either side. This is a generous price. This is a very good price. This is a crazy generous price. In his brief stint in AAA this season, over 97 plate appearances in his 20 games, he hit 7 home runs. He had a 333 ISO, 321, 385, 655 slash line, 435 WOBA. Last year in the minors, over 50 plate appearances, he hit 4 home runs. And before that, he was in college. He is that talented. He's in the major leagues now. Just take the cheap price and take that bat. Have a little faith that the home runs are coming. Johnny Peretta in the bottom spot, mix and match. On the Rangers side, facing Jeffrey Springs. Let's see if we got this one in the last couple of minutes. Doesn't look like. So Springs, we got basically that one big start at the beginning of the year, like I said at the top of the show, and then in every start since, he's given up at least 3 earned runs. 3 twice, 4 twice, and 5 in his most recent outing. That came with 7 runs, 5 earned, only 4 strikeouts, 2 walks. He's given up 1 home run in each of his last 5 starts. It was really only that first good start against Seattle that's given him any kind of good numbers so far this season. 6.04 ERA, but a 4.92 xFIP tells us the full story there. 11.3% swinging strikes is something to maybe cling to, but it's only resulted in a 20.5% strikeout rate. 12.1% walks is way too high. The model's given him a little bit of a bump for the strikeouts and for the ability that he's demonstrated over time to strike hitters out, but it's been very small sample the last 2 seasons. 135 and a third 3 years ago with a 26.2% strikeout. This was very good in a partial season, but it's difficult to carry that all the way over and have a ton of faith that it's real when he's been pitching in this kind of a form. So we need him to have another good start to really renew the faith. 23.9% strikeout rate for this projected version of the Rangers lineup, 22% last year. Diminished with no Corey Seager, obviously, but still a lot of dangerous hitters in this lineup. A lot of guys who have been underperforming for the better part of the last 14 months or so at this point, but a lot of talent. So it's not a safe spot for Springs. It's not a high quality spot. But at 7,100, 7,600, I do think he's at least worth a few dice rolls because that's very cheap for what the strikeout upside could be on the right day. We have seen enough of this pitcher at a 26% strikeout rate to believe that it's in there somewhere. So Springs is on the would playlist, not the desirable playlist. Rangers bats against Kevin Pillar, a righty in the leadoff spot, presumably going to be there against the lefty here. 3,000, 2,600. You're looking for balls in play as a table setter, maybe a stolen base. Capable of the oddball home run, but not really what we're looking for out of him. Wyatt Langford, we're definitely looking for power upside, 7.21 in the home run model. He's got 6 on the season, 4 stolen bases, creating runs 75% better than average, a killer 401 xWOBA so far, mashing. Definitely interested at 5,000, 3,600. Josh Young at just 3,800, 2,900, especially if he's hitting third. Love that option. 293, 326, 451, 313 xWOBA, whatever. 12.7% barrels, 39.7% hard hits. I'll take my chances. 122 WRC plus. Jonah Heim, Marcus Semien, and Adolis Garcia. 2 underperforming former stars and a high quality catcher bat for an average of 3,500 apiece, a total of 10-6. I would 3-man those 3 guys on DraftKings in a handful of Texas lineups. Like if I'm building a dozen Texas stacks and this is a bad number to pick, and 6 of them are going to be 3-mans, I think 3 of those 6 3-mans would be 3-mans of those 3 guys because of how cheap they are and how much belief I have in at least Adolis Garcia surging at some point. 4 home runs, 4 steals on the board, a 354 xWOBA hiding underneath all the ugliness that he's put up so far this season. More to the point, 17.5% barrels and 52.5% hard hits, currently exceeding the barrels and hard hits that he put up when he hit 39 home runs 2 years ago. It's going to come roaring back to life. Jake Berger could also be included in that same conversation. 13.4%, 49.3%. The hard hits, the barrels jibe perfectly with what he's done in the past. He's mired at 186, 229, 330, 304 xWOBA, just a 144 ISO, 3 home runs on the board, 55 WRC plus. Been a problematic start. I'm hoping to try and trade for him in some leagues. I like the power at least to come back. He's very cheap for DFS today against a lefty who's got a home run issue, who's not really striking guys out, who's walking too many. Could be a good day to be Jake Berger. And then there's Semien at 2,600, 2,700. He's still putting, if nothing else, we're still getting a 9% barrel rate. And that's up over the last couple of seasons. He still doesn't strike out. He still draws some walks. Yeah, we're at 182, 258, 245, and it's looked awful. But at those prices, I have a few life rests left to cling to, and I'm going to do it. He just really needs to start turning it around. Marcus Semien, if you're out there, Your life raft is filling with water, and you need to turn on that light that blinks so that we can find you in the darkness. Josh Smith, Nick Ahmed, bottom of the lineup option. Smith, way better option than Nick Ahmed. Not sure if that's who we get down there. Smith is not a 316, 402, 447 hitter in the long term. I've talked about it a couple times already. We've seen stretches like this, and then he normalizes. But he's a competent major league hitter. He's never been bad. He's also just never been like a star, like he looks like from time to time in short stretches, or small stretches, if you want to say it that way. This goes Rangers bats, A's bats, Tyler Mahle, Jeffrey Springs. Four corners game, all of that is pretty close. Even with the 4.75 versus the 3.87, I give this A's lineup a little bit more credit against this pitcher than Vegas is giving. That's it, right? That was the last game? Yeah, that's it. How about that? 7 games, still managed to go almost as long as the show yesterday. Yesterday we went a little bit more. Andy said he's got the sound on low under his desk. Roth brought the weather risk down a little bit in St. Louis, Cincy. Down meaning good sign. So that's good. Good note there, Power, to bring the show to a close. Let's see if I reload the page. I'll get the updated report here. All right, so that went orange, full orange to yellow orange. His update says lowering the risk because I think they might get a window. It's tight. There's a line of storms that looks like it may just miss north. If so, it gives us a window to play most or all of it. Remember, it was, that was the Cleveland game. So it essentially sounds a lot like the Cleveland game now. Still do like, even with no Nolan Jones, I'm going to go back and make my note about the Guardians again. I just do like that, and I'm also seeing winds blowing out at like 15 miles an hour, warm, humid day. If that one plays, that's going to be a good spot for bats, Minnesota, Cleveland on both sides. Interesting little 7-gamer, gang. A lot of weather to get right. Ugly pitching in some spots, but some good options. Some killer bats for power. Lots to mess around with as far as lineup construction goes. There's a lot of really, really super premium one-offs that you can string together with some interesting stack configs. Your pitching board, I'm all about those top 4 options. Love the pricing on Zach Gallen with very, very little faith in the pitcher. It's a pitcher I don't really like and usually talk poorly about. But those prices, that stands out on this board. I like him better than Mahle. I like him better than Lugo. I like him better than Springs and anything down here. I don't like him as much as these guys, but you're getting a dramatic discount from those guys. As we talked about at the beginning of the show, I do think in some lineups you could go 75-82, Gallen Lugo. You could go 75-71, Jeffrey Springs, and hope you get good Jeffrey Springs today and find some Ks against the Rangers. A little bit riskier. You could probably even go there if that game plays with Liberator. Even more risky. But at least he's not 9,000 like he is on FanDuel. 9,093 for those two pitchers in that game environment, I do not like all that much at all. If you took these 3 guys away from me on FanDuel, I'd be all about that Gallen, Mahle, Lugo stretch, and I wouldn't, and probably Springs would be in there, and I wouldn't use these 2. I think they're too high priced over here. Andrew Abbott at 8,700 is probably also too high priced on DraftKings. Patrick is, again, just about the matchup, and that's it. Lively under a lot of threat from weather and power if the game plays. Same thing for Woods Richardson, and these 2 guys are bad. That's about it, gang. Let me go get these lineups updated. Slate starts in just about an hour. Give me 5 minutes, and not even, and the site will be fully up to speed, and you'll have your projections to go build lineups with. That in mind, good luck out there. Somebody will win something this afternoon. Share the results when you do. NBA and NHL will be up on the site a little bit later in the afternoon for your playoff purposes tonight. Let's go Knicks. And have good days, fellas. Finishing before noon. How about that? Good morning to you. I'll see you guys.